Hello, you lot. I just wanted to say something very quickly about the Sarah Everard vigil stroke protests. First of all, I am very, very proud of these women and girls for going up there and standing up for what they believe in the face of the patriarchy and the law and the police who are actually responsible for the discrimination of women and crimes against women all over the country, and good for them for turning up and doing exactly what is needed. This time, well, not this time last year, but last year there were protests against protests for other organisations, which I'm not going to name here because I don't want to get accused of any bigotry or anything like that, but all I'm going to say is they were quite light-footed, light-handed towards those particular protesters. But this time, maybe because they're women, in my opinion, they were a little bit more confident that they could just grab people who weren't going to fight back. And that's the problem, isn't it? Men can grab hold of women and not be worried about them fighting back. So I'm really glad that the women went out there and did this and showed that it's not acceptable to grab women. It's not acceptable to grab women when they're walking down the streets. It's not acceptable to grab women when they're trying to protest. It is just a way of men showing their power over women. And I'm absolutely disgusted that the powers that be are actually condoning this kind of thing in the name of lockdown, when this time last year there were other protests that didn't get quite as much heavy-handedness. So I'm saying, and this is just my opinion, that it's us women, and all right, I'm non-binary, but you know, for all intents and purposes, people recognise me as a woman, and I'll go into that in a minute. But it's the fact that they think they can do what they like with us, to us, and on our behalf. And no, fuck that. It's not going to happen. Okay? And I'm really proud of you girls and women for standing up in, reverence to Sarah Everard and all of the other women and girls and female presenting people who get shit from people. And I'm going to tell you my story now. It's not necessarily you have to look female. This is the kind of way I presented myself for ages. I mean, I'm 50 and I think I first started doing this kind of like non-binary type gender, non-conforming haircut, I think when I was about 30, 28. I know. I did shave my head when I was at school and I nearly got expelled for that. So anyway, it's going back a long time. It's going back since about 1989, 1988, something like that. And I did grow my hair out after school because I thought that was the only way I was going to be able to get a job, was to kind of look a little bit more girly. And my dad used to say that as well, and that's just, and ever since then I've been worried about, like, am I gender non-conforming because I think that I'm a feminist, or to rebel against the way that women should look, or am I gender non-conformist because I've always been like that? And I have done a lot of soul searching, and it does occur to me that in fact it is because I was born like that. Because I remember growing up as a kid not really getting on terribly well with other girls, and then in school wanted to change my name to a boy's name, and I was, this was primary school, so I was 7 or 8 or something like that. So yeah, I wanted to change my name to Sai because it could be I wanted to change my name to Simone or Sai because it could be one or the other. And this was in the 70s. And it wasn't, gender neutral, gender non-binary, gender questioning, all of these things. They were never, ever talked about back then, ever. I mean, we did have homosexual next door neighbours. We had a female couple on one side and a male couple on the other. And it was no big deal, but nobody ever talked about gender identity because it was the 70s and it was still a little bit, well, yeah, you know, there was a little bit kind of like the burning bras thing and that, but it was never talked about that you could be anything other than the gender that you were born in. And so it never occurred to me. And I used to worry that, oh, you know, do I want to be a boy because my dad always wanted boys? Do I want to be a boy because dad said I couldn't fix the cars? Do I want to be a boy because dad said that I couldn't do bricklaying? You know, and all of these things. And then I cast my mind back and saying, well, actually, even before all of this stuff was discussed in my family, I didn't identify as a girl. So one of these days I'm going to post some pictures of me as a little kid, and well, you can decide for yourselves. My point being, I still got hassled out in public looking like this. You don't necessarily have to look like a blonde, feminine, pretty woman to get hassled. I don't know what it is. Is it pheromones? I was walking around in a parka and jeans with the short haircut, and I still used to get hassled by men. And one of the worst ones that I had, bearing in mind I worked in London at this time, I was working as a technician in TV industry. So I was really not dressed like a girl, you know, not that I wanted to dress like a girl anyway, but I wasn't dressed like a girl because it just wasn't practical for that job. So I had black trainers, black jeans, my parka, because I had to do a lot of commuting, waiting for trains and that in the cold and wet. So, you know, it was practical. And it had lots of pockets, and I love pockets. Pockets are good. So, you know, stuff everything in there. I mean, I used to wear a blazer at school because I loved the pockets, and that was, again, you know, girls didn't wear blazers. Girls used to wear tight jumpers and short skirts, and I wore blazers. And if I'd have been allowed to wear trousers, I would have bloody well worn trousers, but it was the 70s. Women weren't even allowed, girls weren't even allowed to play football back then. And I used to have a kickabout in the playground with some boys who were my friends, and you know, it was a different world. It was a different world. Anyway, so I'm walking back from my work to the station in London, and everyone's saying that's really dangerous. You shouldn't walk through London on your own. Something's going to happen to you. And there were a few times where I thought that someone was just getting a little bit too close for comfort, so I crossed the road, and it turned out it wasn't the case or whatever, but you could never be too careful. But where the problem really lied was one night when I got on the train back to my hometown in Surrey, and this was a really small town, and you'd think nothing would ever happen there, but as it happens, things do happen there, because as it turned out, I don't know whether it was that year or the year before, the year after, or something like that, but women were getting sexually assaulted and attacked in Reigate, and I lived you know, just down the road in Hawley, so, but I wasn't really aware of anything local creepy happening at that time. It just didn't occur to me that it could happen in a small town. So it was late, and I'd got home from work, and I can't remember what time it was. Maybe it was about 9, 8 o'clock or something like that by the time I'd got off the train and started walking towards my house, which was about 3/4 of a mile away, I guess. About a mile, but maybe a bit less than that anyway. And I was always worried about walking through the council estate, but that wasn't where this happened. I'd got out of the train station and I'd walked down the road, and it's like a shopping road. It's I wouldn't really call it a high street, but because this town's not really big enough to have a high street. So I was just walking past all these shops that were closed because it was late at night, and I just kind of felt like somebody was following me. Anyway, I looked behind me, and this guy kind of asked me the time, and I thought, so I just told him, and then I was walking a little bit further, and he got a little bit closer, and I was walking a little bit further, and he got a little bit closer, and I thought, I don't like this. This is just creepy as shit. So there was a video rental shop that was open till late, and he was on my tail. I mean, I swear to God, and I'm not paranoid, but this guy was too close for comfort, really too close for comfort, and he was giving off really predatory vibes. And I don't like to say that as a, you know, female presenting person, that, you know, I don't. The thing is that you can't talk to people and say, oh, well, he just seemed like a creep, because then you'll say, well, you're just being paranoid. And I'm quite a sensitive person, so all of my life I've been told that, nah, they're not doing this to you, you're just paranoid, etc, etc, etc. And sometimes it's not just me being sensitive, sometimes shit is really happening. And I've got into a lot of really awful relationships because I just thought that, oh no, it's just me overreacting, so I just let people do what they want. This time I thought, no, fuck it. I had a boyfriend at home, and he was nice, and I just thought, no, men just aren't supposed to behave like that, you know. And like I said, I didn't look like a girl, you know. I was clearly not flaunting myself. So all of these people who say, oh, well, you shouldn't go out in a mini skirt because you'll get raped, or you shouldn't have long blonde hair because it obviously makes you look like a tart, or you shouldn't be... I was dressed in a parka and jeans with short hair, you know, and I probably had my head up because it was winter and I was fucking freezing. Anyway, this guy obviously knew I was a girl, so he was going to follow me, you know, because I don't know why, and I hope he never did anything awful to anyone ever again after that. But I didn't report him because I thought I was maybe just being a bit silly or something like that. But I ducked into this, you know, video rental place that was also a, you know, sort of off licence. It was called Flickers and Lickers. It's closed now. Well, it's a funny name for a shop. And I just said, look, I don't want to buy anything, but I think this guy's following me, so can I just sort of stand here for a few minutes in the shop? And they kind of looked at me as like, what? And I said, look, I'm really worried. He's like, oh, okay then, you know, whatever. And I did not know how long to leave it until I got out of that shop again. It seemed like an eternity. I just thought, what if I go out there and he's hiding around the corner? What if I go out there and he's literally just standing there? And I just looked at my watch and thought, is 5 minutes enough? Is 10 minutes enough? And I just thought, I want to go home. I just want to go home. I want to go home and I want to be safe. So at some point I had to decide that I was going to leave this shop, go back out into the dark, walk through this council estate and get home. And I have never felt so sick to my stomach scared in all of my life, because I didn't know where this guy was. And there were bushes and trees and anything he could have hidden behind. But I just thought, he's got to have gone by now. Surely if he's an opportunist, he's got to have gone by now. And thank God I didn't see him again. But it was just like my whole world had frozen. I really didn't know what to do. And it was terrifying. I felt so trapped. I felt so trapped. I didn't know what to do. So if I just want you to think about Sarah Everard. She was just trying to get home. It happens to anyone, right? It happens to anyone who's female, because I don't know how they sense it, but men just do. They will just find someone who looks weak and vulnerable and pester them and follow them. And, you know, and I've been in train carriages where, you know, I'm trying to get home from work and I'll be sitting there and I mean, this was before, you know, this is still when they had small carriage, you know, compartments in trains, and I used to find a compartment to myself, and then and then these drunken men would turn up and sit in the compartment and try and be sleazy and chat me up and wind me up, and, you know, and stuff's happened to me at work as well. But you could just be walking home. You could be at work, you you know, you could be anywhere. There was this poor girl who got killed in, she was working in a department store, and she just, you know, she just got attacked by her jealous lover. And it's time for us, women, girls, female presenting people, and even non-binary people like me, who for all intents and purposes in the world are still regarded as women. We need to just get out there and say, no, we will not be silenced. We are going to be, we're going to report shit, we're going to protest, and we're not going to take things lying down. And screw you if you think you can beat us up, you know? Just screw you, you know? We're going to band together and we're going to beat this thing. Reclaim our streets. Reclaim our nights. And I am so proud of you. I am very, very proud of you girls and women in Clapham Common. Just get out there and kick some fucking arse. Do it for us all. You know, just do it so that we can walk home without worrying whether whatever is going to happen to us. You know, I know a family member who was sexually assaulted in a wood on her way home from school. It's not right. We're not just there for you to just like pick on, you know, like prey. We're not going to put up with that shit anymore. So good for them lot for protesting. You know, women's lives matter. That's all I'm saying. And why should we put up with the same shit that everyone else puts up with? Why? You know, why shouldn't we go out and protest? You know, why shouldn't we? When people are being violent towards us, why shouldn't we protest? You know? And I'm so glad people have taken a stand, and I'm so glad people have told the authorities where to shove it, you know. I know there's a lot of politically correct YouTubers out there that's saying you should stay in your house, you should do this, you should do that, you shouldn't be in groups and that, but they were perfectly all right for certain groups to protest last year. Why not now? You can't be a social justice warrior and pick your teams. You know, women get attacked. I'm sorry. But we have just as much right to stand up and protest against that as any other marginalised and victimised people. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, thank you for listening. And you go, girls. Yeah, I'm just so proud of you. I am so proud. And if I'd have been in a position to go up there, unfortunately I'm stuck in this little village and can't go anywhere, but if I could have gone up there on the Clapham Common, I would have been there, mate. I would have been kicking some bollocks as well. So I am so proud of you. Reclaim the streets. Women's rights. Yes. Bye.